Okay, so let's finally bring in our Ninja Star from our Illustrator file. Before I do that, I'm just going to select the layer 9 here so that we bring it on top of that layer. Switch back to Illustrator and just selecting and pressing Command C or Control C to copy it. Switch back to Photoshop and Command or Control V, and we're going to paste it in as pixels. Okay, so let's just put it in position and rotate it just a little bit. Put it towards the middle there, and we'll double click to accept that transformation. And let's name it Ninja Star. Alright. Now it's just a black plain Ninja Star right now, so let's create a brushed metal texture to it. I'll create a new layer, and I'm going to fill it with white by pressing Command or Alt Delete backspace. Oh wait, make that Command Delete backspace, or backspace in a PC. And let's run a noise, add noise. Our settings look pretty good at 160 uniform, and more importantly is monochromatic, so we don't get any color distortion in there. Click OK. And let's run a blur, motion blur. And third angle at 36 is fine. The distance at about 80. And click OK. And now let's blend it in by grouping it like we did before. Now our texture is in our Ninja Star. So let's add a couple of layer styles. Let's double click the Ninja Star. Let's add a bevel and emboss. Put this to chisel hard. It's up, the depth about 200 to 10-ish to 11, that's fine. Click on this angle, and let's move it towards out, right there. We don't want to use global lighting, actually. And put it towards the left there, actually. Okay. Check anti-alias. And on the glass contour, let's use this one right here. Okay, now we're getting somewhere here. Let's add a gradient overlay. And let's change the blend mode to screen. And the angle at about there, 170. Scale it pretty low. We want contrast when we're dealing with metals. Okay, and one other thing, and it'll come up later, but on our blending options, you want to put a check mark on layer mask hides effects. I'll tell you about that in a minute. And we'll click OK. Okay, so now we're going to need to make this star look like it's inside the wall a little bit. And so let's switch to the lasso tool. We're going to make a rough selection around the two tips nearest to the wall. Now that I have a selection, I'm going to click on the mask icon, and we're going to invert the mask by pressing Command I, and now we have the tips looking like they're inside the wall. If you need to adjust it, just make sure you click on the mask here and just draw another selection and fill it. Oops. Fill it with Command Delete. Alright, so now we're starting to get a little bit of realism here. Now remember about a minute ago we put a check mark on hide layer effects. The reason for that was if we didn't put that checkbox, the bevel would have gone around the tips that we're hiding right now. The way it is now, it's much more realistic because Photoshop would have assumed that we wanted the bevel to go around. In this case, we didn't. Still needs a couple more things inside. I'm going to click on layer 10, which is our brushed metal. Right, so above the brush metal, create a new layer. Make sure it's part of the same group here before we get started. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a black to white gradient. I just press G for the gradient tool. We want the preset here for copper. And we want to use this reflected gradient. Okay, now I'm just going to click and drag over here. Actually, you want to click and drag pretty much the whole star. Let's see, there, no. Just till something starts to look about right. There, that's fine for now. And we're obviously not going to make our Ninja Star brown, so we're going to desaturate this layer here. You can go under Image, Adjustments, Desaturate. So now it's strictly black and white. And we're going to transform, but we're not going to do a typical transform. We're going to use a mesh transformation here, or a warp, I should say. And here you want to go a little bit crazy. You want something, you want to make that gradient like it's a bit more distorted, more metallic. Just kind of go crazy until you get something that's a bit swirled. And if you press Command H, you can hide the mesh and see what you're doing. So we can say now let's change the blend mode from normal to multiply. Multiply ignores all the white, and let's just move it a little bit here. Let's see if we can get this to look about right. That's pretty good there. Okay, undo, redo. That looks a little better. I'll transform and rotate this just a bit. Just, you want to experiment, you know, this part is pretty much about taste. There's no exact right or wrong. So rotate, click here, click there. You know what? Sometimes simple is better, so let's just keep it there. Let's see. Alright, that's fine. Okay, so let's add a little bit of blur to that. Gaussian blur, just to make it a little bit smoother. Okay, so now all we need is some shadows for our star. Now what we want to do is create a shadow that's gonna go on our wall, and therefore we're going to be linking our Ninja Star more to our wall. So we're going to need new layers for that. Yes, that's right. But first, let's create a selection of the Ninja Star by holding Command and clicking on our thumbnail. And you want to kind of converge or extract what's in our mask here. So I'm just holding down the Command, Alt, and Shift key, and till we get an X there, which means when whatever intersects between the two selections, between the selection of our Ninja Star and our mask, is gonna pretty much get rid of. So in other words, what was on the tips, what was selected over here and over here, is now not selected. Okay, so let's click on our Ninja Star layer, and I'm going to hold Command and click on our new layer to create one beneath it. We want to fill that with black, and by Command delete backspace, and we'll deselect. So now we got to transform this, and we're going to distort it a little bit by holding down the Command key. And we just want to make sure that our origin for our shadow is right on the tips. And that looks good. And we'll change the blend mode to multiply, lower the opacity, and we will, you guessed it, Gaussian blur it. This time we'll blur it to a little bit extreme here, about 2.6. And just one little thing, and that's it. We're going to add a mask, use our gradient tool on our basic settings, again, foreground to transparent, linear, and click from left to right to hide our shadow the further it goes back. Let's just reduce the background layer, the opacity of the background layer to 40. Make it a little bit more like a background. And the shine that's on our Ninja Star, let's lower the opacity on that a little bit too. This time I'm just going to press the 6 key on the keyboard to take it directly to 60%. Okay, and now from here all we need is some text, which I already have prepared. And there it is, our Dramatic Ninja movie poster. My name's Jose Henriquez for PassThePen.com. Thanks for watching.